Testing, testing. Hello. Testing, testing. Hello. Right. This is bear with me just one moment. This is the agenda for what I'm looking to do today, which is basically learning together to build a Windows 10 universal Windows app. We'll have a quick look at MVVM, the pattern we're going to be using to design, and have a quick look at the application I want to build, which is called Accountable. It's a brief and the app we'll be building. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So quickly, introductions. We'll be building a Windows 10 Universal app using XAML and C#. We are learning together. I have no idea what to expect. I have done a bit of research, watched a few videos to prepare, but I've never built an app from scratch. C# skills obviously, but XAML and Blend is completely new to me. So I've been researching really how to apply the MVVM pattern to building XAML apps. So the structure for today will be small sessions throughout the day with regular breaks, possible research breaks my end. I don't want to be taking up too much time on these researching, and hopefully by the end of today there'll be at least something working, and then the goal is to get it into the store, but not by the end of today. That would be a bonus. Right, so design patterns. So MVVM is one of the design patterns which you can use, presenter design patterns that you can use for C# XAML apps. It's specifically not. Just to be clear, it's not something that you just use for Windows 10 Universal apps. You could use it for WPF, Silverlight, even non-Microsoft technologies employ it, so iOS and Android development. So basically the first M stands for models, your data classes and how you interact with your data. Your view, i.e. your interface, your user interface. So that would be the XAML in our case, but if you were creating an ASP.NET site, that would be your HTML, HTML5, CSS. Your view model is the user interface binds to this class, and the VM, as I'm going to call it from now on, or the view model, consumes any services of the model, sometimes exposes services themselves to populate model properties. So we'll come on to the next piece to try and explain that. So I got this this image from the blogs.technet there, and I'll post that as a link as a source, but it's a good one. So what it's saying here is we start at the top. You've got your view. Your view binds using data binding and or commands. You don't have to use commands. You can just use code behind in your view to speak to your view with your view model. And your data binding is data binding to your properties of your view model. And your view model, as it says, handles the state and the operation, and it will send the notifications back from a command from the view, or if an object has changed, a model has changed, and you want to reflect that in your view. So if it's an asynchronous app, and then it's connecting to a database that is it's a client server app, and a database is used by other apps. I don't know, somebody adds a sale, for example, or an order, and you're in the order inquiry screen of this particular app. You could pull that data in as and when it comes in, so you're not waiting for a refresh type stuff. And the view model updates the model, and vice versa. So again, the notification of the change comes from the model back to the view model, then back to the view. and the model consumes any updates. So if you're updating your profile in your profiles page, you've updated your Facebook URL, that would be consumed by the view model, and the view model will then post that back to or however you'll save it back to your model. The model will handle the persistence back to your data layer. So in your three-tier architecture, you have your data layer, your data access layer. Independent if you're using SQLite database or SQL database, or you just save into a text file, or if you're going to be sending a web service somewhere, that's where that would be handled. So how, in the context of what I'm looking at, what we're looking at today, is MVVM applied. So the view is your XAML. In the case we're doing a C# XAML app, you can write Windows Universal apps using HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS. I haven't looked at that, but I think that'd be quite clever and cool to do. And also, you excuse me. You can also write .NET apps that consume that. And then you have your events from your view. You can either use commands directly to your view model from your view, or your view can fire an event which you have some code behind, which then calls a method. They're both they're both there to be used. And I'm actually not going to use commands today. I'm just going to use the events from the view code. That's just the separation. But what we will be doing is looking at the binding, the data binding between the view and the view model. And this is being used. This is a really powerful element of XAML. It's been there from the beginning, I think. And you bind to the properties of the view model. With Windows 10, you now get compiled bindings, which there's a nice video on the Microsoft Virtual Academy on the developer guide to Windows 10. That will show you how they talk about compiled bindings and the old way of doing it, which is using reflection and performance benefits. So now it's all compiled in. The reason for that, interesting snippet, is the whole UI of Windows 10 is built in XAML. Now, from the start screen to your even first-party apps are using XAML, so the new Office uses XAML. So for them to be performant, Windows needs to be performant. They needed to make some enhancements to XAML. So XAML and Windows 10 are tied together, so that's a good thing. So any enhancements to Windows 10 have to make their way into XAML for performance, because Windows 10 has to remain performant. So that's a good thing. So XAML isn't going away, and Windows is built using XAML. So that's the binding. We'll talk about that. And then your view model will have calls back to your model, or the web, or whatever you want to use. Your models don't have to be local, but your plain old C# objects will represent in your application, will be there. So you'll have load data or save data or whatever you need. Okay. So why do we want to use MVM? I like separation of concerns is a good piece. It's easy to unit test. I'm going to be naughty and not doing any unit tests today. I'm going to be testing it, but I'm not going to be writing unit tests. So I want to speed up the process. But you should do. You should always write unit tests. So you separate your UI, your business, and your data logic into concrete parts. Why is that good? Well, as it says, you can reuse the business logic and data logic, say in your ASP.NET application, or if you needed to take your Windows application and create a Windows Universal app and create a Windows Form application, you could. If you wanted to create a headless IoT app that is a service, you could just use the business and data logic there and still use your view models, because they typically don't have a UI. I can't think of a sort of use case for that currently, but you could have something where you you don't need user action, but the data behind still has the same business and data logic. And then another good example is obviously the ASP.NET MVC or web forms applications. Again, reuse your view models and models, and your business logic, data logic. So you have to write less UI code because you're separating it off into your view. You're with Blend, you seem to be able to do a lot in the designer, and you want to try not to do so much code behind of the view. But we will definitely be using methods instead of commands, so there will be code behind. But it's just there really. Okay. Just one more slide, I promise. So I wanted to bear with me. Not this one. So there is another one. Okay. Okay. So the application I'm gonna be doing is gonna call it accountable, and it's gonna be just gonna be targeting the desktop to begin with. So the concept of the particular app is basically accountable should enable someone to track their personal income and outgoings easily and visibly where their money has been spent. So that's it. It's simple and easy. I'm following Microsoft guidelines on designing your app to begin with, and I'll post all of where I've got this research from. But it's on dev.windows.com. You'll be able to find it in there, and they give you some tips on what you need to do. There's scenarios about how I think my users will use this particular app. So one is I've just come back from shopping. I want to upload the shopping receipt to Accountable so you can see what you've spent in that shopping trip. And for that, you may want to even break it down by product. I've just used Amazon. I want to load the outcome into Accountable, i.e. what I've spent. Just one moment. Each month I want to add my wages into Accountable, so I have to go in again. I go in there and add my income. I want to see where my money is going and report on this. So I'm thinking of outcome in terms of your outgoings. Where am I spending money? Where am I spending it on bills? Am I spending it on shopping? Am I spending it on travel? So what types of things am I spending it on? Should be able to log into Accountable to keep data secure. So that's a biggie. Definitely if you're holding financial information. And I want to be able to add future outgoings like direct debits that remind me when something is coming out of the bank. So I could set up bills within Accountable, load in the direct debit or standard order date, and then on that date it should add a transaction in Accountable, so I don't every single month have to go in and add all my bills. And also, it should notify me. So I did a quick structure of what I think you would do, and the orange boxes is the first. I'm calling it the first flow. So what you do when you log into the app, so you hit the login screen, which automatically teaches the account details, and that's where you can add a new entry, and you'll also be able to view existing entries. And there will be other pivots within points within the app. So my profile page, reports, and settings. Okay, so I sat down, and Microsoft provides you again some templates for designing your particular applications. It's really, really good. And again, I'll post the links. Basically, you import. They provide you controls. that you can use. They give you this information about what you can do on themes, then they help you design it. So I've quickly done what I think the login screen will use. So you have a username, password, you either register or you can skip this. The reason why I'm having skip is because you may not want to register to begin with. It may be a demo app or whatever, but they may not want to add a username and password. It should be optional, I feel. I don't think we should enforce them. And again, when you log in, so you've got a register screen and you've got a login screen. So once you've registered, the app will know, and then the UI will change. You'll have a login screen, a login button. And what I'm going to focus on today is the account details. So at the top, start at the top, you've got the accountable header. Then on the right hand side you have what will be the profile picture. We're going to use a pivot control, so account details, profile, report, settings. As you remember on the structure, it lands you here straight away. If you want to get here first, you want to be able to, the main thing you're probably going to do in this app is log in and add an item. So you don't want to log in and have to click on another pivot to get somewhere else. In the future, depending on how many users you have using your app, you might be able to put some intelligent UI interrogation in there, like the sort of logs where users are logging into first and what they're doing, so you can change the UI depending on statistics. But I don't have anything like that currently, and also don't have a big team to go off and user experience. So this is what I feel should be the screen to begin with. So you would put if it's an income or an outgoing, the type, i.e. is it a bill, is it shopping, it's a combo box, the date of the transaction, the amount, I'll come on to confirmed in a minute, and transaction from and to. So there's a bit of search box, it'll go off to a database or a list of shops or whatever, and you'll go in there. And there's a little plus button, so if it's not in there, add one. So you'll have a little collection of, so if you visit Tesco's, so if you're not from the UK, Tesco's is a shopping store, it's one of the biggest in the UK, loads of stores everywhere, so you could go in there and put in Tesco's. And then if the app becomes popular, then you might be able to source some third-party data, or even use a web service to go off and find an address using the Google, the Bing API. So you could get more clever, but for the time being it will be a local cache. And then you've got the save button. And then on the right hand side you'll have the list of entries that have been the history. So, and they'll be sorted by the latest date. I haven't really put too much data on there, but you'll have the date, if it was shopping, a bill, and the amount. And then you'll be able to click on these items and it will pull them using data binding, I'm hoping, to the input page, to the form. I just call it the form. So you can amend it and then save it back if you'd like, or delete it. So you could delete it using the delete button. So the delete button should be blank to begin with. It should be off, because if you haven't selected anything to delete, it's going to fire off an event and not do anything. So I'll go back to the confirmed button. So I've got a little few thoughts on this. I haven't written a spec out because it would take too long. But what I was thinking about the confirm button is if you're setting up direct debits for the future, you can go in there and confirm if you want that it's come out. So check the bank, confirmed, do something with it. So it's not automatically presume that the money's gone out. And I may have something in the settings that allows you to auto-confirm if you're happy or whatever, but at the moment I'm thinking that there's possibly going to have to be a bill page, because you could do one bill at a time here for the future, but direct debits you'd have to put in every single one unless you and there's something in the background that says the date of the transaction is the 24th of every month, the amount, it's a direct debit, boom, it goes off and creates however many records in the database. Okay. Right, so that's where I got to in the quick design. So really what I want to be doing today is getting this view done, getting the binding done by the end of today, getting it working, the account details pivot, and then I shall move on to the profile and the settings and then the reports. And as I move on to profile, I'll build the login screens and the various other stuff. Okay. So, I'm on Windows 10, and what we're going to do is structure it off. So, I am just going to open a screen. Bear with me. So what I'm going to do now is go and make a coffee and then come back for 1 o'clock, and then we can start the build and get that one going. But at the moment, this is just a quick introduction of what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to get myself set up now the kids are gone, and then we'll start with the build, and then we'll get ourselves going. What I'll do is I'm going to be building a blog page about this today, so I'll have all the links on there and I'll post it off at the end of the day with the links that you can be looking at to getting things done. Okay, thank you very much. See you in a minute.